So all of the schools that you're applying to, we know you're going to be successful. That's
Yeah.
why we're supporting them.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to talk about education loan, study abroad loan, master's education loan, how to get loan for master's education, specifically with Prodigy Loans. I've partnered with them in this video, and also I've partnered with them previously when we did seminars in India. I love the company, I love the brand, and that's why I decided that, hey, let's do a detailed session. A lot of my audience have questions about how does the process work, how does the loan work, how does the disbursement work, everything and anything related to Prodigy loans. We're going to discuss it in this video. Also, fun fact and an interesting fact I wanted to share, because I was doing research before I made this podcast, is that in my past, I think 15-20 podcasts, about 5 to 6 people told that they took a loan from Prodigy, and most of them, in fact, I think all of them are on the verge of paying off their loan. And it's not even their first year completed. Like within the first year of their graduation, they've been able to pay off the loan. That kind of tells me something interesting about Prodigy loan, is that their data model, which they have, they predict that, because they don't require any collateral or cosigner, so they are predicting on your success. They are saying that if you take a loan from us, we know that you're going to be successful. I mean, that's just that's not what Prodigy is claiming, but my understanding from all the people I've done podcasts with who have taken loan from Prodigy were able to pay off within a year. Anyway, I highly recommend you to check out Prodigy Loans if you're considering taking a loan. That's one of the recommendation I would have for you, and link in the description. You can check out, go to that link, and take the first step of the journey if you are really interested in it. And now I will let you enjoy the podcast. Thank you, Ryan, for doing this. Really means a lot to me and my UD Squad community. I call them UD Squad. Thank you for being here. I know we've heard a lot about Prodigy loans, and it's all the good things about it. So I was like, maybe I should do a proper detailed session where we can talk about the process and things required and all of the fun stuff about Prodigy Loan. So thank you for being here and giving your time and talking to us.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting. My first work with an influencer and celebrity. So a little nervous, but very excited and honored to be on your show.
I should be nervous, but
no.
that's funny.
A celebrity.
Yeah, no. So before we do anything, let's do a quick intro. Like, what do you do with Prodigy, and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I've been with Prodigy for a little over 2 years now, and my role is University Relations Manager. So that means that I work with all the administrators at the schools we support. So in admissions, in international student scholar services, in financial aid, and kind of all aspects of the loan journey. So if a student's working with an admissions counselor, it's really helpful for the admissions counselor to be able to provide Prodigy as a resource for funding when scholarships aren't covering the full cost, or maybe options for work on campus. So they kind of have that in their back pocket to share with their students. And then International Student Scholar Services, of course, they work on resources for international students. So having Prodigy, again, as a resource is really helpful. And then ultimately, we do disperse our loans directly to financial aid offices, which is really important to us. So we work with them as well. I think a little about myself. I will share that I'm in Rochester, New York now. I moved up from North Carolina recently, where I was working at Duke University, and had a pretty traditional career in higher education prior to joining Prodigy, having worked at Duke, UT Austin, University at Buffalo, which are big schools I know for your squad. But I heard about Prodigy and the mission of just creating access to international education. I said, I absolutely have to be a part of that. So it's been a great journey so far.
So I'm pretty sure my audience just picked up that you are part of Duke University, UT Austin, and they're just gonna start texting you, emailing you like, hey, can I get admission there?
I'll see what I can do. I don't know how much sway I have anymore, but I can put in a good word.
Okay, awesome. All right, please don't spam her.
Yep.
All right, so I just wanna, I get a lot of questions about just a Prodigy loan, and I put out a post on my Instagram on YouTube community, and I shared some of the questions ahead of time so you get an idea what kind of questions we'll be talking about over here. And the biggest, I want to start with the very basic one. Here's, I'm a student, bachelor student looking for masters. Uh, I thought about doing it. I don't know. I know that financially I cannot do it. I need a loan. What's the
Mm,
first step I need to do? Like, I need to know, like, okay, am I even eligible? I don't have collateral,
mhm,
which is what the biggest, I mean, one of the biggest pro is that Prodigy does not need collateral. But
mhm.
like, what are my first few steps
Yeah.
to get to know, like, if I can get a loan?
Mhm. First step, watch all of UDJ's videos and learn about loans. I
Okay.
mean, yes, that's a good first step. I mean, just kind of familiarizing yourself in general about funding your
Mm,
education, because there's so many components to it. There's the tuition, there's the cost of living. At Prodigy, we call it cost of attendance, COA.
mhm.
But there are so many other factors too that I know we'll talk about a little bit later on. But if you're going to do an internship while you're studying abroad, so those are things that you want to think about, or if you're going to return to your home country afterwards. So there are a lot of different factors to start thinking about and doing your research. But after you've checked out all of UD's videos, now that you know about Prodigy, and maybe I should say very quickly about Prodigy, if you aren't aware, very simply, Prodigy is an education loan provider for international graduate students. So I know that
Mm,
was another question that came
right.
through: is do you support undergrad? We hope to eventually, but at
Mm,
this time, it's international graduate students. So that means that you have to be studying outside of your home country. It doesn't necessarily have to be the US or the UK. We support 130 different countries. So I think that asking those questions of yourself first, and then if Prodigy is something that you're interested in, then start by going to our website and registering. So actually, I'm wondering if I can just very quickly share with your viewers our website if they haven't been there yet.
yeah, yeah, I think that'll
Um,
be nice tutorial, like kind of walkthrough. Yeah.
Great. And so you can see it now.
Yep.
So first step, you want to, let's say, study an engineering program in the US, and you know that you're probably going to need some amount of a loan.
Hmm.
Hopefully, you're going to get a scholarship, but it might not cover that full cost of attendance that we talked
Mm,
about. So you say, okay, I need to look into Prodigy and see if that can maybe help me. So, first things first, you would register either through this apply now or signing in. And registering is no commitment. It just means that you're sharing your email, your name and email with us, and that you will be on our communication list. So, we're going to tell you about upcoming webinars. If you want to learn more, we'll keep you posted with changes to our product, and just really keep you in the loop. So, whether you're trying to study this fall or maybe next year, it's good to register and continue to get that information and learn more about Prodigy.
mm,
Um, Three quick check marks for are you eligible for a loan? So, we've already mentioned you need to be studying outside of your home country. So, you're studying abroad. You want to study at a school we support, and we'll go through that in just a second. And then you're
mhm.
from a country or state we support. So we do have some
Oh,
regulatory restrictions. Yep. So this is a hyperlink that students can click into and see if there are any restrictions to them as an individual, or the country that they're coming from. I know
mm,
that most of your viewers are from India. We can
yeah.
absolutely support students from India. Now there might be students who are living in India that hold citizenship someplace else, so we can't say
Mm,
100% across the board,
right,
but
right. I know.
generally Indian students are are
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And I do know that there are some of my audience from also like Africa, and then some in
hmm,
Bangladesh and Nepal.
that's
And
great.
I think
Hmm.
one of them asked if it was eligible for Nepal, and I was like, I don't know, but I'll ask her. Ryan.
Yeah, yeah. So you can click right in here and view the whole list. And again,
Okay.
it's going to be based on you as an individual. So where are you living at the moment? Where are you from originally? So it's really hard to answer those questions definitively.
Yeah.
And that's why we want to empower students to register and go on our website and click around, and answer those questions for themselves.
Hmm.
And this is a really great tool where it shows you all of the fields of study that we do support. So it's important to know that at this time, unfortunately, we can't fund masters in, say, education, which is really unfortunate because that's what my master's degree is in. But hopefully, we will get there eventually. We're continuing to expand. So you can see these little flags that say new on there. So we've
Mm,
just opened up science, for example. So someone studying chemistry at the master's level.
mm.
So you can actually just type in, I said I'm in Rochester. So maybe you're looking that way. I mean, there's a lot of different ways that students search for their programs. Is it a specific area? I know a lot of your followers are interested in California because that's
Yeah.
where you are. So looking for schools in California, or maybe they've just heard of certain schools because of rankings.
Mm.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can go
And
about this.
what if I don't know the school yet? Like I don't know
Mhm.
which school I'm gonna get.
Yeah. So you could, so you know that you want to do engineering, let's say. So you
Yeah.
can go to the full list. Um, and then, so we start with business. It's a long list.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
I
So you have
think we found, yep,
somewhere there's a list available where.
absolutely. So you
Okay.
can kind of go through that and say, all right, well, based on this list, I can narrow it down to 10 schools that I'm interested. And
Mm.
then I'm going to go to the school's program website, or maybe you've been doing that in tandem at the same time, and start to kind of pull that information together.
Got it. Okay. And
Yeah.
one more question: what if they don't find a school which is
Mhm.
not listed here? What happens then?
Yeah. So I'm just going to stop my sharing really quick. Um, yes, good question. So we are always open to expanding the programs that we support.
Mm.
Right now, there is a lot of demand for the fall, and I want to just manage expectations and say that while we encourage you to share with us a school that you would like to be supported, I would not expect that school to be
Yeah.
supported for the fall at this time. So if you're thinking, you're just starting to do your research and you don't see a program you're interested in for next fall, certainly share that with us. So once you're registered on the website, you can chat with our customer support team. You can always chat with an ambassador. That's a feature regardless of being registered. And
Mm.
so you can share that information and you can talk about the course that you're interested in. And that's actually part of what I do with Prodigy, and more kind of on the school side, but also always sourcing information from students, is
Mm.
trying to learn where there is a large population of international students that we aren't yet funding, that we need to open up. So we
Mm.
are always trying as a company to continue to expand those course offerings.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So let's take an example that, going from the process perspective, I looked up, let's say Sunny Buffalo. That's the school I want to go.
Mhm. Good choice.
Thank
That's my school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Got
that's right. I went to undergrad and grad school.
Oh, nice. Okay. So I don't know why I thought about it, but maybe.
Ah, you just knew intuitively.
Yes, yes. So I do know that that's where I want to go, and I typed it. What happens next? So
Mhm.
I figured out that what's the next step to find out actually that how much loan will I, and
Yep.
if I will get or not.
Yeah, great question. So you start an application. It's free. All applications are free, and students can actually fill out several based on the schools that they're interested in. So let's say you're interested in University at Buffalo, Rochester Institute of Technology, UT Dallas. You have five that you're really interested in. You can
Mm,
fill out an application with us for all of those schools because they're going to have different budgets, and you might receive
mm,
different provisional offers based on those different schools. So I would actually encourage students to apply for a couple different schools. Ultimately, of course, we're going to need to see the letter of acceptance from the
mm,
school and know which one you've decided before moving further in the process. But the next step is definitely to apply. And then you can compare those provisional offers. That might actually help you make your decision. So if you
mm,
receive some combination of a better loan offer for SUNY Buffalo, and they gave you a scholarship, or you know, Chico, right? Is that where you went?
Yeah,
University of
yes,
California,
yes. Yeah.
which we don't unfortunately support. I saw that that was a
Uh,
question that came in, but that's something that I've already put on my list to
that's probably
explore. So
all my
hopefully,
audience. It's like,
yeah,
why
hopefully
is
next year.
yeah.
Yeah. I know we're really trying to expand in California because there are so many international students that want to study there. So
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
So that is a good way to actually compare and contrast, is to start those applications and again start to get that information in for all of the different applications as you get the
And
information in from the
so the
schools.
application is not based on me, it's based on the schools. That's what I understand, kind of.
It's a great question. It's kind of a combination. So definitely, I would say primarily based on the individual. So we're going to take in data points from you, your study history, where you went to undergrad, how many loans you're already carrying, your financial background, and a number of other different individual
Mm,
factors. And those are the things that go into determining interest rate. But it also is a large part the school that you're choosing, because I'm not sure how familiar you are or your audience, but Prodigy is able to offer these no cosign or no collateral loans because we've built this data model that assesses students on their potential earnings.
mm,
So, so
right.
it's not that applying to SUNY Buffalo is going to make you more competitive than applying to Rochester Institute of
Yeah.
Technology. It's the difference in budgets. So obviously, going to, let's say, NYU engineering, that's
Hmm.
in New York City, is a lot more expensive cost of living. Probably it's a private school, so the cost of tuition is going to be more expensive than University at Buffalo, which is a public school, and it's in Buffalo, New York, which is a smaller, much smaller city. Still a
Hmm.
city though, and a
Yeah.
fun city.
Yeah.
um, so those are things that you want to take into consideration, and we certainly do when we put the budgets together in the
Mm.
application. So we actually do that with information from the schools. And again, that's part of what my team does, is
Yeah, and I think
structures these budgets. Yeah.
right, and I think one of the question was, is this really legit? Because people were
Yeah.
really confused, like how are they
Yeah. How
not
can
able,
they do this?
no
Yeah.
collateral, no cosigner,
Yeah.
and so it is legit. I know that because I know lot of my friends and a lot of my audience who have actually
Mm,
taken one. So yes, they do not require collateral and no cosigner. It's totally based on your profile and the school you're going to. So
yes. Yep. And no credit history necessary in the country that you're studying. So if you're going to the US, you don't need to have US credit history.
hmm, okay. All
Mhm.
right. Okay. So tracking back to my original question, let's say I Sunny Buffalo filled out. I don't have an admit, which is what you said. Like I
Mhm.
can still look it up, and then it's like, okay, I get a provisional letter based on the things which I filled in based on my application, and everything is online. So there's obviously it's
Yeah.
all online. One of the cool thing I like is I think it is 15 minutes where you fill up and get a decision so
Yeah.
quickly. So that's awesome, and that is a provisional letter that you feel like, okay, if I go to this school, I'm gonna get a loan based on I fill up my application. So and that after you do get an admit, you send that the letter that, hey, I have an admit, now I want to proceed
Mhm.
further. What's the next step?
Yeah, I'd actually say the letter of admit is kind of the last piece. It depends on where you are in the
Mm,
process. You get your provisional offer, and then you enter what we call the verification phase,
mm,
which the letter of admit is a key piece of that. But it's also will need you to upload information on your current address, a proof of identity. Um, Background, your financial background,
mm,
whatever you can provide, information on your undergrad and things like that, and putting together your budget. So something that students ask about a lot is what we call non-debt funds. So
mm,
you're asking for, let's say, $50,000 from Prodigy, and maybe you've been offered $20,000 from the school. Well, the budget calls for 80,000, so you're $10,000 short. we need to see that you have that in savings or you have a plan for coming up with that $10,000 because it's really important to Prodigy that we know we're setting you up for success.
Mm,
So we don't want to see that you have a shortfall of funds and then you go to campus and you start and you're in a scenario where you're kind of stuck, and you can't pay that tuition or you can't pay to live where you've chosen to live. So
mm.
we want to make sure that all of your ducks are in a row financially
So,
before you
so
study
you
abroad.
can choose how much amount you want versus getting the full amount. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, great question. Um, so we can cover, depending on the type of program, 80 to 100% cost of attendance. So again, that's cost of tuition plus cost of living. And sometimes the cost of living, depending on what the school provides us, includes books and fees and health insurance and all of those things
Mm,
that go into it. So so again, we work with the school to set those budgets. So let's say it's $100,000 for a budget, and it's a business school. We can cover up to 80% or $80,000. So you can ask for the full $80,000, or you might have some savings or know that you have a scholarship, so you can
mm.
only request 50,000. So
Okay,
definitely.
got it.
The other side of that is if you request 80,000, it might not always be the case that we can give you 80,000. And that's
Mm,
where all of those kind of background questions come into play. All those different data points that you've shared with us will
mm,
assess how much you can afford these loans. So maybe we say, all right, well, based on the information we have responsibly, we feel like we can only lend you 60,000. And then I think it's up to the student to work with us and their school to make sure that they're reaching the full
mm.
$100,000 budget.
Right. Got it. Okay. So verification is the last kind of
Mhm.
final step, and then you put on the letter. Now comes the biggest challenges which I've heard from the students with other banks, not with the Prodigy, is disbursement.
Mm,
It's like really big challenge. So this is finally like you have the admit, you have the verification done, you have figured out what you want, how much money you want,
mhm.
and how does disbursement work? Like what's the process for that?
Yeah. Hopefully, it is much easier working with Prodigy because we are so aligned with the schools. So we
Mm,
ask the schools what the disbursement date should be, and we try to follow that as closely as possible. And we disperse directly to the school. So how that will work is we will send the money to the school prior to your semester or study period starting. They'll take out the money that they need for tuition, and then the school will send you the additional cost of living funds. So again, if it's a loan of $80,000 and only 50,000 is needed that term for tuition, they'll take that $50,000 out and send you the 30,000 for your cost of living for that term.
and where
Those are high numbers for
yeah,
usually it's split up. So you've got your
right,
fall semester, your spring
right.
semester, or
Uh,
if you're on a quarter system. So it's going
yeah.
to vary and so it's not something as easy as like everyone gets dispersed at the end of
Mhm.
August. And so it's going to be dependent on you and your program and how those costs are kind of divvied up.
Hmm. So just taking an example, let's say 50,000 amount is what I chose for. My first semester fees is roughly about maybe $8,000. So they will
Okay.
get $8,000. So remaining still is 42,000. So do I
Mhm.
get 42,000? And if I do, where do that money go? Like, is it on my
Mhm.
Indian bank account or US bank account or?
Yeah, great question. Um, so maybe I should take a step back and say, usually students are studying either a full year or 2 years for their grad programs, right? So
Yeah.
if you're taking out a loan for 50,000, that's usually, we'll say, an ideal world split nicely between 25 and 25, first year and second year.
Mhm.
And then within the first year, cutting that in half for your first semester, your second semester, or quarters as needed. So when you're given your approval, your loan approval, you're given also a pre-approval for your second year loan.
Mhm.
And what that means is that after you finish your first year, you already have these funds pre-approved, but we do need an update on any financial changes that might have occurred during the year. So very scary to use the word guaranteed. Very, very likely that's what a pre-approval is. It's just kind of checking to make sure that you haven't taken out several other loans in the meantime or have exorbitant credit card bills. So provided
Mm,
something crazy like that, you will get your second year loan. And that's the point of the pre-approval, is to help you plan accordingly. So if you're
mm.
asking for 50,000, that's all not going to come out at once.
Okay.
It will be definitely in these digestible chunks. So if your fees for the first semester is 8,000, and let's say we dispersed 15,000, then
Mm,
you'll have the additional funds sent to your bank account that you have on file with the school.
okay.
So admittedly, I don't know. I think you do need to probably set up a US bank account just for the school's ease of transferring money.
Mm,
Again, that's if you're studying in the US or
right.
wherever you are studying locally. I'm pretty sure it needs to be a local bank, but the
Yeah.
school usually has resources for how you can do that very easily.
Yeah, yeah, and I've covered that in my past
Right.
videos. Got it. So the what students have to worry about is just figuring out the cost of their flight tickets, and they just have to land
Hmm.
there. Their fees, first semester fees, is paid off, and if there's
Hmm.
additional amount left, once you do open a bank account in United States, that money will be deposited,
Hmm.
or you will get wire transfer to that banker. Got it. Okay. I
Yep.
want to step back because I just remembered one more question from the audience, was that a lot of universities ask for these loan letters, like loan
Mm-hmm.
approval letters or something
Yeah.
like that, before they issue an I-20. Can they send the provisional letter, which you guys do, or what document can they send?
Yeah, that is such a fantastic question. And thank you, to your followers for sending that in. So we do provide a conditional loan confirmation letter when you have your additional offer. So it is conditional, and we want to be very careful about
Hmm.
that. So the purpose of that letter is to help you plan. So you know that provided you upload all of the documents and make it through the verification stage, this is the amount that you can generally count on. So that helps you initiate some of those processes that you need with the school. So there has been some confusion, admittedly, students taking that letter to the International Student Office and using it for I-20. It can help when you're getting your materials together and having those initial conversations with the visa office. But it is not the proof of funds that is required. And that is going to be your actual loan confirmation letter once we match you to your funds and approve
Mm,
your loan. I'm really happy to be able to clarify that. It's meant to be a tool for planning, not necessarily something that you use for documentation or visa documentation.
okay, so we are talking. Okay, got it. So there's
Mhm,
two different things we're talking.
mhm,
One is when you want an admit. So let's say you get an admit, and sometimes school will ask like, "Hey, give us a letter where you can show us that you." This is university asking, not the visa office.
mhm, mhm.
That's where you can send them the conditional loan letter saying that, yeah, I have this conditional loan letter. You get an I-20, and then when you book for, of course, you go through this whole process, and when you book for a visa appointment, that's where you do need a proper loan confirmation letter.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. So for the admissions piece, not needed. I don't think anyone needs to be able to show their funds to be granted admission to a program. But what happens after you've been admitted to a program, you have to start working with the school on this I-20 documentation, which is what the school issues to essentially verify to the visa office that you are going to be an enrolled student.
Mm.
And a component of the I-20 documentation is a proof of funds. So the
Hmm.
school does need to see that, I call it the visa office, but the international student office at your university needs to see that you have secured funding, whether it's personal savings or a loan, or your scholarships. They're going to need to see secured funds. So your conditional loan confirmation letter is not confirmed.
Mm.
It is
Yep.
conditional.
Yep.
So the point here being that that letter can help you to start working on the I-20 documentation with your school. And there might honestly be some schools that accept that letter. So that's where it is a little confusing, and why we don't want to necessarily take it away, because a lot of students do use that to start their planning process.
Right.
But ultimately, there are going to be some offices that ask you for that loan confirmation letter, even in the I-20 step, and
Yes.
definitely for the visa
Visa.
process when you go to
Totally.
the embassy or the consulate.
Yeah. Let's say somebody did get a I-20, everything is sorted. They went for visa interview. Now they got their dream university, which is Duke University. They were going for Sunny Buffalo, but
Mhm.
they got visa and
I
everything.
understand.
That yeah, yeah. But now they got Duke University. What, like, how flexible it is to move their loan from Sunny Buffalo to Duke?
Yeah, yeah. So you're being approved for your loan based on you. I mean, there are, as we talked about, a variance in budgets.
Hmm.
So that might be an element, but I would say we're investing in you. So if you need to move your loan over to Duke, I'd say just start a new app if you didn't already have one for Duke. Might be helpful to even just call customer support and say, hey, this is what happened. Can you help me move my information over, or can you help me set up a new application? But
Mm.
presumably you already have all of the information on hand because you've done the application for
Yeah,
SUNY Buffalo.
yeah.
So it'd be pretty easy to go through.
What is the typical time frame, like, from the start of the application till the end? Like, how long typically it takes?
Yeah, so I love that you knew the provisional offer is like almost instant.
Yeah.
It can take up to 2 days, but still, it's pretty fast. So it's that verification period that does kind of take a while you're uploading your documents. Sometimes you're waiting again on that information from the school. So typically it takes about 2 weeks right now because of the demand and interest in Prodigy loans. We're looking at between 3 and 4 weeks right now.
There are some scenarios which I want to kind of ask you out. There's probably three scenarios I have in my head. Number one is, they started the first semester, the loan is dispersed, it's paid by Prodigy. So basically, they took that much loan. Now, while they were in the first semester, they were fortunate enough to get RA or GA position, and that offered them the entire tuition fees to be paid by university itself, or got like a scholarship or something. What happens to the remaining amount? And like, when, like, does it mean that their clock is stopped and now they have to start repaying it, or does it still, they still have options to repay after they graduate?
Mhm. I love answering this question because I think this is another one of like too good to be true. Um, so I guess the first part of the answer is students don't have to start repayments until 6 months after they've finished their studies. So that's that. We call it a grace period, 6 months after your last day of classes,
Mm,
essentially. But the other really fantastic thing is that there are no penalties or fees for early repayment. So
mm,
if you are very fortunate to receive a scholarship after you've arrived to campus, or an assistantship or a job on campus, and you either don't need the rest of your loan or as much as you originally asked for, then you can start repaying. Or you can just let us know, hey, okay, I've taken care of the fall semester. I need to amend this. I need to reduce the amount that I've asked for the spring. Or
mm.
maybe you just finish out the year with the loan that has been scheduled for disbursement, and then you don't have the second year. So there's a lot of different ways that you can organize it based on the new budget that you have. But
Mm.
the bottom line is you don't have to start paying back, but you can with no penalties.
Got it. Okay. And I'm guessing the same case applies when they get summer internship and that
Mhm.
turns out to be a co-op program for 9 months, and they feel that's enough money for them to pay rest 2 semesters or 1 semester. They
Mhm.
don't want to take the loan for next 2 semesters. So
Mhm.
same thing applies.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So I would say the only maybe scenario where the money is still dispersed is like based on when you tell us. So maybe it's already been certified and the like trigger has been tripped, so
Mm,
the money is coming. But in even that case where it's kind of last minute, you get the chunk of money and then you say, oh wait, I don't need this. I'm going to pay it back
mm, mm.
immediately. So
Okay. Got it.
that's just the school sending back the funds to us, or if it's been issued to you, you pay it back.
Got it.
So that's another element too, is that you can work with the school and the school can send it back. It can sometimes take a little bit of time, but once you've initiated it, you're not going to accrue interest on the time that it takes for the money to get back to us. So that's really important to acknowledge as well.
Hmm.
So all around, flexibility is the key word, and there are no penalties or fees for having to change your loan amount.
Got it. So you hit the word, which is where I was gonna go to next, is interest rate,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's a big part of the loan, and I want
yes.
to talk about that. So, how does the interest rate work, and when does it start applying? When we
Mhm.
have to repay it?
Yep. So Prodigy's interest rates are comprised of two components. So they are variable rates, which I don't know how familiar your followers are with even that term, but that just means that the rate can change slightly,
Hmm.
variable.
Hmm.
So we have a fixed margin rate. That's the rate that's based on you as an individual. So let's say that's 7%. That's not going to change. The part that changes is the base rate. That's variable, and that's where we use LIBOR. And LIBOR, I won't get into the details of that, but that's kind of like a guiding, like what banks use globally to
Hmm.
guide like the exchange of funds.
Hmm.
So if you're interested in finances, go on our website. You could get all the details on LIBOR. Right now, it's at 0.2%. So your interest rate with your fixed margin at 7 and your LIBOR rate or that base rate is only 7.2.
Hmm.
And LIBOR is, and this is maybe getting into too much detail, that is eventually going away. So we're not anticipating that to jump from zero point 0.2 to 2%,
Hmm.
like making your interest rate go up to 9. So I'm just careful to point that out because variable sometimes makes students really nervous because they
Hmm.
imagine these huge fluctuations in the duration of their loan.
Hmm.
But it's a really small amount. And I know that it showed your viewers the website. There's a lot of detail on the interest rate. It is a simple interest rate. We do collect interest as soon as the money is dispersed, but it's not compounded over the length of the loan. So that's something to keep in mind. And then I think it's really important to talk about APR as well. And again, so if you're like furiously taking notes watching this, know that this is all on the website, really helpful video to break it down. APR is the total cost of the loan. So it's the interest rate plus any associated fees with the loan. So Prodigy does have a 5% fee on our loans. It's not required upfront. It's actually just rolled into the cost of your loan. So let's use an example, and this is the example that's on the website. You've asked for a $40,000 loan. So the 5% fee is going to be $2,000. The total cost of your loan is $42,000.
Hmm.
So that's, and then we have kind of a monthly breakdown of how much that would be based on your interest rate. So
Hmm.
when you're comparing loans, you want to use the APR, not the interest rate, because you might be given a higher interest rate with one loan provider but a lower fee. So you
Hmm.
kind of have to figure out how those offset each other, and the APR gives you the whole story.
Hmm.
So yes, interest rate is really important, but APR is the number when you're looking to compare
Hmm.
apples to apples.
Got it. Okay. Taking the example of Sunny Buffalo,
Mhm.
we have 8,000 dispersed for the first semester. So you're saying imagining the 7.2% is my interest rate. So it's getting the interest rate starts from the day it's dispersed. So my
Mm.
entire first semester, I'm going to get interest rate on $8,000, not the entire loan.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a
Okay.
good question. Yep,
Got it.
great
And
question.
then when I go to next semester, I disperse another 8,000.
Hmm.
So then the interest rate will be on 16,000, which is
Hmm.
still 7.2 or whatever the fluctuate, if it fluctuated at all.
Hmm. Yep.
And similarly, it goes until four semester. Let's assume it's four semester, and I end
Mhm.
up 50,000, 7.2%. So the 6 month grace period, what is that? And during that grace period, you still have the interest is still going on.
Yes, all of the information about the interest rate is going to be in your provisional offer. So we'll break down, with this disbursement, this is the interest rate, this is the overall APR, and then after your grace period, this is the interest rate that you
Hmm.
can expect to pay for the duration of your payments.
Got
So
it.
we'll make sure to lay out all of that information for you.
Okay. Okay. Got it. And assuming in that 6 months of grace period, I was able to get a job and got a signing
Mhm.
bonus, and maybe I got a sign. If I'm too lucky, I got a signing bonus of $50,000, and I paid it off. That's completely okay. There's no penalty or anything.
No penalty. I know I did see the video you had with a Prodigy alum who was able to
Yeah,
do that.
I know.
Part of me is like, good for him. The other part of me is like, okay, that's not always going to be the
Yeah, yeah, I know.
case. But
I was surprised too because he
yeah.
said it was just 2 months he graduated and he was able to pay off USC's loan. So
Oh
I was
my
like,
God.
that was yeah,
Wow, that is so impressive. I
yeah,
mean, I am imagining all of your followers are super ambitious and have it within in them to be able to do that. Don't beat yourself up if you can't. And I know that was one of the questions you had asked ahead of time is, what is the rate of repayment? And the answer is, as is the answer to most things with Prodigy, is it's dependent on you.
mm,
Maybe some people, even though you can repay back early, maybe you like having that plan of, okay, my payment's only $300 a month. I want to save that money that I've earned for a house. And I think you've even done a video on that. Like,
hmm,
how do you prioritize your budget? And that's a really hard thing for someone who's just out of school and they have all this money. It's like,
yeah,
okay, what do I do with it? And I understand that want to pay back your loan. And maybe for you, that's the right move. But you're also trying to maybe establish a life in a new country, and maybe you want to buy a house or you want to buy a
hmm,
car. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. But I would
right,
say in general, students do, and I checked this with our risk manager before our call, we do have about a quarter of our students pay back their loan within a year.
oh
So I think
wow,
that just
yeah,
goes to, I mean, Prodigy's rate of default is like less than 1%. And that
hmm,
just is a testament to the risk model, and the students that we are able to fund. We know that they're going to be pretty successful. So
hmm,
yeah, so
yeah.
that's not the
I was
case for everybody.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
don't put pressure on yourself, but
No, no, totally.
yeah, it's
I was just gonna
possible.
ask you that was my next question, but you already answered, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I think we've covered like pretty much
Yes.
taking the loan and repaying the loan. Can't wait to do this one more
Yeah, me
time or
too.
maybe multiple times. We'll see how we get the comments. If we did not answer your question, please let us know in the comments, and love to do one more detail sessions, and maybe we will do live session where we can answer your question directly. That is it for this one. Until our next one.
Keep smiling and keep hustling. Bye,
Nice.
everybody.